Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, and we're back doing more Standard League. The last league we ended up 4-1, which is really good. We ended up losing to green-white tokens though, which is a very popular deck. So we're going to be doing another friendly sealed league here, and seeing if we can keep this deck going. I've been really impressed with this deck. It's been going really well. Via a commenter suggestion, we're going to try out the Possessed Scab. I found a couple ways this deck can lose is it runs out of win cons. So if you don't know how the deck works, essentially it's just blue-black control with Rise from the Tides as the win con. You can also potentially win with Crush of Tentacles, though not super likely. And Possessed Scab just lets us get another opportunity to cast Rise from the Tides, which is very important. So I think the weakest matchup for our deck is presumably something super aggressive, like the Red-White Humans deck, or Bant Humans, both of which are fairly aggressive, although I think this deck does a lot better against Bant Humans than the Red-White aggro. That deck has Bushwhacker, which can just really dish out a ton of damage by turn 3 and 4. So besides that matchup, I like this deck in most matchups. In almost every match, I feel as though this deck can definitely win. So it's a good feeling, and this deck is just super budget, which is awesome. Subscribe to the Seems Good Magic channel on YouTube if you haven't already, or check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Inez27. I'm sorry I haven't been posting as much content lately. Eldritch Moon is about to come online in about 10 days from now. So I've sort of slowed down just because I've been doing I've done a lot of Shadows over Innistrad drafts. I'm not the biggest fan of Cube. I know people love Cube, but Travis has been doing that. He's probably got another one for next Monday, so tune into that. I've enjoyed Standard so far, so I'd like to keep this format going. And the feedback I've gotten from you guys about this deck has been great. So this deck is just a lot of fun, very cheap, and competitive. So without further ado, let's take it to match 1 of a new sealed league. We'll see you in just a little bit here. All right, here in round 1, we won the die roll, so we are going to play first. This is definitely a keep. Nice looking hand. Turn 2, Anticipate. Turn 3, Pieces of the Puzzle. Turn 4, Languish. Very nice. And the Mage Ring Network, which I've liked a lot in this deck. Really lets you do big plays in the late game with counter backup, or just multiple spells in one turn on turn like 9 or 10. So I like it a lot. Let's just put out the Sunken Hollow now. We have no turn 1 play anyway. All right, looking like it might be the red-white aggro deck. Possessed Scab. Well, there's our one of. Brings back our Languish, though, so hopefully get an opportunity to try it out. We have a lot of double black spells that are cheap in the deck, so I think it's better to play the swamps rather than the islands early. Obviously, we need both. Stonehaven Outfitter. Okay, an equipment deck. I haven't seen this one yet. Okay, so I think we want to take probably just Grasp. We already have a Languish and we have the Possessed Scab and we have a Piece of the Puzzle, so let's just take the Grasp and probably just Grasp the Outfitter when we need to. Okay, so I can transgress, but I think we're going to Pieces of the Puzzle now. It sets me up for a Languish next turn. Double Silumgar's Command, okay. Okay. So we take 6. Then we'll have the Languish. Aha. All right. Let's just Languish now. Next turn we can possess Scab and bring it back, which is kind of cool. Or we can Silumgar's Command. Or we can Grasp of Darkness. All sorts of options at our disposal. Might be in our best interest to do the Transgress into Grasp. Not sure if we're up against mono white. So I can even set up a Silumgar's Command into Transgress to get rid of Always Watching play, which I actually don't think is that bad. Mostly because our deck is just, even though it's running a ton of lands, we have a lot of means of getting card advantage, which is just really nice. So we can afford to make plays like bounce this, kill something. Actually, that's not even card disadvantage at that point. We're killing a creature, we're bouncing this, and then we're getting rid of it, which I think is fine. And an Acolyte. Tap and untap, and okay, you can get equipment out of it. Sure. Okay. So I can possess Scab now to get back to Languish, which isn't bad. I can do my Silumgar's Command play. At least makes him replay the Always Watching, which will eat up his entire turn. I think that's probably the best. So let's just bounce Always Watching. Now he gets to replay it and deal 2 damage to it, but then he likely won't be able to play a creature to use the cohort with. But I still want to minimize damage to myself, so I am going to take out the 3/3. All right. So now he's working on getting some allies for himself. So we'll be able to grasp that as well. We can transgress into grasp, which should be good. I can also Silumgar's Command to bounce the ally and kill his Acolyte, which deals with both of his creatures. Because once he has one creature, the claws get pretty good. Okay, Bonesaw. And equip the Bonesaw. Got it. Okay, so transgress, but then we can't. I see. We probably want to just Silumgar's Command, killing the ally and killing both of his creatures, essentially, which seems fine. Okay. Still not getting the opportunity to cast the Transgress here. Alternatively, I can Transgress now, get rid of Always Watching, and then begin combat, destroy the Acolyte. Which isn't bad. It doesn't make the best use of mana, though, so I think I'm going to stick to my initial plan of just killing both of his guys. Because I feel like this is an always watching turn anyway. Might not be, but kind of makes sense if you have the Acolyte. I suppose I should have just, well, I guess the dilemma with just doing it on my turn is that, ooh, well now I definitely want him, well, I guess I can't let him attack though. All right, let's just do it then. So we'll bounce the ally and we'll kill the Acolyte. Okay, so now we can get rid of the always watching and play the possessed scab to get back the pieces of the puzzle. I guess the dilemma is I probably just have to forego the transgress. I basically, I guess I just have to not care about, because I want to bring back like pieces of the puzzle. I don't want to bring back to dig for like win cons and just more spells. So I think it actually makes more sense to just play the possessed scab and leave up Grass of Darkness and bring back pieces of the puzzle for card draw value. Here's our one of coming up. I do want to grasp this, though, because of the Captain's Clause. I mean, I could block the core Blade Whirl, but Captain's Clause is actually, like, a bit of a big deal. Okay. That's a good sign. Oh, he still has a creature? No creature. Got it. Ooh, there's our Rasmatides. Unfortunately, well, 5 isn't bad. Probably not good enough, though. I think we can afford to wait one turn, so instead we're going to pieces of the puzzle first. Wow. Some good tools here. Crush bounces hit a lot of his permanents. And we can play it here? Yeah, that's pretty slick. So we're going to take the Crush and the ultimate price. And we're actually just going to Crush now. Actually, not going to Crush now. Because we bounce our own guy. So let's attack with our guy. Is it when it dies? No, if it... So we even get Possessed Scab back for ultimate values? That's kind of crazy. Look at that. I didn't even think about the double one of value of Possessed Scab with Crush. Actually, they go infinite too? That's pretty cool. You can just make 8/8s. I like that. That's some cool little one of synergies. So I'd almost, wow, he's playing red too, but didn't see it until now. So I'm thinking there's got to be Bushwhacker still. That would make sense with the Captain's Clause sort of too, I think. So why don't we just transgress? I actually don't want to cast Rise from the Tides. Okay. So we're just going to leave up Clash of Wills. I guess I can only clash for 5 if he were to draw like a 1 or 2 drop creature, but I don't think that matters because... Although he is on a... Why don't we just replay the Possessed Scab, actually? My thinking is... Basically, why not? Let's get back a... Let's get back the Crush, actually. Just because it's so silly. What an amazing 2-card combo. Okay. So, red-white aggro. Flaying Tendrils is coming in. On the draw, we always take out the Clash of Wills. We typically take out the... We're going to take out the Transgress because I don't think it's good in this matchup. I don't think Duress is great either, but we're definitely bringing in the Flaying Tendrils. I mean, Negate does stop some of his equipment spells, but Duress is probably better than... Well, is Duress better than Transgress? I mean, Duress has some definite targets. I don't think we're taking out Anticipate. I don't mind bringing in 1 Ruinous Path. 1 more. And then why don't we just bring in a couple Duresses? I think they could be good for us. Keeps us busy early, and there are definitely some targets we can hit. Mainly Captain's Clause. Everything else I think seems fine. Grip of Desolation is a little bit too expensive. So let's keep the rest the same and try this. All right. Opponent is presumably going to be on the play. This hand is a bit dangerous, but it is a good distribution of lands and spells, so I think we're going to keep. It's a bit dangerous, obviously, because our opponent's deck is very aggressive, and Read the Bones is... I mean, Read the Bones is going to be better on turn 3, even in a matchup like this, than it's going to be on, like, turn 8 or 9. There's just sometimes you can't cast Read the Bones, which really does make it a dangerous card in matchups like this. In some matchups, it's fantastic. Like any sort of Esper Dragons or slow control list, you're going to just love having access to Read the Bones. But in matchups where every single point of life matters, Read the Bones is pretty dangerous. Looks like our opponent mulls and keeps it 5 on the play, which is good for us, certainly. All right, Languish, not a bad draw. All right. Majoring network. Yeah, I guess we can do that. can get that going now since we don't have anything else to do. So next turn we have to play the Read the Bones, and we have to find a black mana source. It actually might be in my best interest, oddly enough, to play the Blighted Fen next turn to play the Read the Bones. And I know you're wondering why, but it's because we're running Choked Estuaries, which require to come in untapped that we have a mana at hand that works with it, obviously. All right, we're taking a lot of damage here. So next turn we could potentially take 9, and we're taking a 2 here, so could very easily die here before we even get a chance to cast Languish, which is kind of crazy. But all right, we're going to do the Blighted Fen, and we're going to see. Oh, I forgot to. I was too busy thinking about my next play, and I didn't use my Majoring Network. Hopefully it doesn't come up. So we want to bottom these two. Okay, so we did find the Choked Estuary. Oh, and we have to discard. I see. Well, let's ditch the Read the Bones, because I think that is done. That's not happening anymore. All right, still alive, albeit at a very low life total. 2, as a matter of fact. All right, so let's play the Estuary, revealing a swamp, Languish. Okay. No cards left in his hand, so I guess we'll just use the Silumgar's command to bounce his Always Watching and kill his envoy. Because that way he will not have the mana to do everything here. So we'll bounce the Always Watching, kill that. Oh, I see. Didn't even use the ally encampment. That's unexpected. All right, well, looking good now. I mean, we're at 2 life, which isn't fantastic. If he has any sort of burn spell, we're likely dead, but the good news is we have stabilized. So put a storage counter on this. Ah, Dark Petition. So we can Dark Petition into Rise, but we can't cast the Rise yet. So I think we're going to wait. We can also counter a non-creature spell by leaving up Silumgar's command, which protects us from everything but exquisite whatever it's called. Firecraft, which cannot be countered. Always watching for days. If we draw a land, we can do the Dark Petition. Okay, Void Shatter's fine, I guess. So we are a land away from Value Town here. And yes, I'm playing it pretty safe, leaving up a bunch of counter spells, but it seems like with all the counter spells and removal we have, we should be fairly safe here. Ruinous Path. Okay. So we can Dark Petition Rise. It basically lets us only get 5 zombies, though, which is a 2-turn clock. So I guess we go for it. I could also do the Crush, which keeps me safe from, like, things with haste, like a Reckless Bushwhacker. So maybe that is actually better. But I already have the Crush, so let's just get the Rise from the Tides and then cast the Crush. I did unnecessarily tap out here, but I couldn't do anything with the 1 mana anyway, so it seems okay to me. So yes, like I said, I basically just opted for Octopus instead because it protects me from a Reckless Bushwhacker. All right, so now we're just back to leaving up counter spells, and we're going to go to town within 8/8 here. And I presume that we just discard the pieces of the puzzle because just really do not have any need for it. Oddly, we only have 3 black mana, which means we can't cast, but we can Void Shatter, so we can Void Shatter Blood's Grasp, which I guess is, if there's no reason we should need more than that. I was just thinking if my opponent were to go creature plus Bushwhacker, I would have to counter the Bushwhacker. So I'm not going to counter that, obviously. We'll just make the best use of mana by using Silumgar's command to bounce this. Oh, yeah, wait. Bounce that and kill this. Yes. Because it'll go back to a 3/3. All right. Okay. Stabilized at 2, but our opponent did mulligan to 5, which makes that quite a bit easier for us. I think we fare a lot better against this version of the red-white aggro deck than the The other one, just because our opponent messing around with, like, the other one still runs Always Watching, but our opponent messing around with equipment cards is just not what you want against a control deck such as ours, which can just languish and wipe away everything. So having those slots not dedicated to more creature spells or like planeswalkers or something is just not going to pan out well against a control deck. Although Captain's Claw is good against spot removal, I'll say. I mean, they do have to constantly move it around, but if I ever run out of spot removal and they can get an attack in, it's pretty good. You know, making dudes every turn can be a problem. So I'm glad we discovered the infinite cycle of Crush of Tentacles and the Possess Scab. What's really cool about that is if you see either of those cards, the Dark Petition can find the other piece of the combo in the late game, so you can just really go infinite on Crush and Possess Scab. It's kind of cool. It's like a way for this deck to always have something that it can do, too, so it doesn't really run out of win cons unless, of course, they exile this or exile our Possess Scab, which is totally possible, but still, very cool. All right, we'll see you in round 2.